And I'm Keon.
And this is Inevitable, that podcast that was death, because this week we watched The Girl Who Was Death.
Written by Terence Feely.
Directed by David Tomlin.
And it aired on January 18th, 1968.
We're coming rapidly to the end of this show, and that surprises me every time I think about it.
Yeah, especially because, 2 episodes away from the end, or 3, depending on how you think about it, we're just getting more random stories.
Yeah. And not only that, I don't know if you read this, but these stories are now airing 2 weeks behind schedule because this episode aired the week that Fallout was supposed to air.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't ready yet, so they had to push everything back.
Right. And that actually plays into, weirdly, this always happens with The Prisoner, but just these random coincidences play into the whole meta aspect of the show, because as a result of the delay, what they did was, I don't know if you looked this up, but they brought Danger Man back for 2 episodes, apparently wrapping up whatever season they were on. And that aired in the Prisoner time slot for 2 weeks. Now, this episode was based on... This is basically a Danger Man episode. This was a 50-minute, obviously Prisoner is always 50 minutes, but this is basically a combination of what was going to be a 2-part Danger Man story. And they just made it for The Prisoner instead, yeah.
The mystical magical book that I never got, that Boz nicely provides pictures of to us, has some more details on how this came to be from a Danger Man script into a Prisoner script. And so the gist of it is that David Tomlin wrote the script for Danger Man, and then he pitched it to Patrick McGoohan, and Pat was like, yeah, let's use it. But since Tomlin was busy writing Living in Harmony, Terence Feely had to come in and write the script. And apparently Patrick McGoohan, was it Patrick McGoohan? He liked the episode so much he wanted it to be a 100-minute long feature-length episode, because Patrick McGoohan was apparently convinced he could get Lou Gray to finance a double-length Prisoner episode. Unsurprisingly, Lou Gray looked at it and said, lol, no. No.
Those were his exact words in 1968. Lol, no. 7, whatever.
So Terence Feely had to rewrite basically the script by combining the 2 scripts into the one script. So there are some compromises. The original script has a couple things that don't happen. Not even mentioning the disguise as the Colonel at all. Some extra scenes between some of the fairground scenes, some extra chase scenes between Six and the girl, and it's otherwise generally the same though. Mm-hmm. And apparently the original script specified for the ad breaks to put the pictures of a children's storybook that mirror the on-screen events.
I'm not surprised about that, since it's part of what's going on here.
And that's the story basically, was that Pat was like, look, we can convince Lou Gray to give us money for 100 episodes. Apparently there was some location filming done for The Girl Who Was Death after Fallout was even finished, that they were like, actually, we need more location filming.
Wow, yeah, I didn't know that.
So, and yeah, they started filming it while Pat was still doing Ice Station Zebra.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically all the interesting behind the scenes stuff I saw.
Yeah, there are a couple other
in the book
weird
anyway.
Danger Man connections too, like how there's an actor in this episode playing one of the cricket bowlers named John Drake. That's the guy's actual name.
Yeah, I saw that.
And and how what's his face Potter appears in the episode. That's the Danger Man character, who also played another character on The Prisoner, which we'll get to later, though.
The fact that they aired 2 episodes of Danger Man before this one weirdly makes Danger Man potentially part of the Prisoner universe via number 6 telling stories to kids. Maybe he told them all 3 stories.
Yeah, maybe. And that's the question too that I've always had about this episode is what the hell is this story actually? Because he's telling it from the Village storybook, yet it's a Danger Man episode. It's it's his past, So what is this? What is he telling them?
Well, maybe he wrote the Village storybook.
Yeah, maybe. Or, drew it, because there's no words.
Also, about those 2 Danger Man episodes, I read that those were the final 2 episodes that were filmed and the only 2 filmed in color. And were ready to go. And they were going to film more episodes in that season, but then Pat was like, nah, I want to go make The Prisoner instead. So the show got canceled, and they just kind of hung on to those 2 episodes. And they were like, well, what are we going to do with these? So those 2 episodes are the only sole components of season 4 of Danger Man are just those 2 episodes.
Yeah, weirdly, even blending it with The Prisoner more. Bringing it into color, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we started this podcast, I didn't realize that Danger Man aired at the same time as The Prisoner at all. So I was really surprised to find out about those 2 episodes that aired.
Yeah, well, it didn't, I think, other than these 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another weird, interesting behind-the-scenes thing I found, according to Anorak Zone, Schnips was originally going to be not a Napoleon fanboy, but a Hitler fanboy. And McGowan, in one of his best, decisions that he made with his total creative control of this show was haha, no.
Yeah. The best decision he ever made, really.
Yeah. I mean, not even in a joking way. That was probably one of the best decisions behind the scenes that we've heard that he made so far.
I did question making him a Napoleon fan. Was a little bit what the hell is going on?
It works, I think. With the tone of this episode, I think it works. And I have an immense amount of love for that line where he goes, oh, we're going to rename, of course, when we take over, it'll be Napoleon Square, Napoleon Bridge, so on and so forth. I just love how he delivers that. Love what the line is. Love everything about it.
I just question, why did Patrick and David Tomlin love this story so much that they thought it could be a 2-part episode? I mean, I don't know how you could do 100 minutes of Patrick McGowan chasing down this girl and her just trying to kill him for 100 minutes and him escaping. Even in the 50-minute episode, the formula was getting stale by minute 35.
Yeah, it does drag kind of a lot. And I feel if it was extended, it would just be more montages of what we got in the amusement park and the abandoned village.
Great. Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. It definitely probably would be just more attempted killings. And it just sucking.
You didn't like this? I thought it was good. It's not my favorite, but I think it's solid.
I thought it was good, but once the formula started getting stale, and also I was like, why would he follow the girl knowing that she was going to just try kill him when he got there? Why wouldn't he just literally approach this in any other way?
I think it goes... I think right when it's starting to get a bit boring is when you get the Lighthouse. That's always been my take. So that has always curbed that, damn, this is dragging. But then, you really get something different type thing. Right when that's...
I felt like it was dragging before they got to the Lighthouse. I felt it was dragging. In fact, when he went to the abandoned village, I was already oh my God, please.
But the traps are so, they're done in such a, good way. Not all of them are great, the one where she just sticks the broom in the the door to the steam bath thing. But like, I don't know, they're just entertaining to watch. Especially that you've just been poisoned like that. And I forgot about that. I forgot that was in the episode, and that's probably one of my favorite things from this show.
Well, my very third note for this episode is this the worst plot ever? ?
No, it's not.
I think that was referring to the plot to kill the cricket player and not the plot of the episode. Because it's the most... They kill this colonel in the most convoluted way possible.
Yeah. So before we get that, we get the intro, as always. And just like with... no, I'm not going to be able to remember which episode it was, but there was another episode where we didn't see number 2, and this one's the same. You don't get number 2. You don't get a visual of number 2 in the intro.
I have a couple notes on the intro this week. Number 1, I like to imagine number 6 actually sees the giant letters outside the window every week, and that's why he looks so shocked to be in the village.
Little clues to what he's going to be going through.
He just sees giant floating letters outside his window. The girl who was death. And then my second note is every time I go to the beach, I just imagine Patrick McGowan standing on the beach, punching the air, going, I am not a number, I'm a free man.
I just imagine him walking in the water, waist deep.
In his dress pants.
Yeah.
We should try that. That should be the finale episode to this. Should just be recorded live on location with us at the beach walking into the ocean in full dress pants.
And it would just be us for like 2 minutes being like, wow, this is like really uncomfortable. Pretty much as uncomfortable as I thought it would be and as it looked. And then it would end.
Confirmed, number 6 resigned because everybody hates that he runs into the ocean fully clothed.
Yeah, but like last week, this episode throws you into just something seemingly totally random.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't, unlike Living in Harmony, after a few minutes, and especially after you get, number 6, you're like, okay, this is like a flashback of when he was a secret agent type thing. And it's not, but that's kind of what you think.
I really thought they were in the village at first. I was like, wow, the village cricket green I had never seen before.
No, but yeah, they're actually just in the town where the Daemons takes place in Doctor Who. Looks very similar to the area where they were holding the maypole celebration or whatever the hell that was.
Totally forgot about that.
So one of the cricket balls gets sent flying into the bushes. So they send some guy to go pick it up. Before he can do that, it's replaced with a bomb.
He hits it. This is why I thought this was the worst plot ever, was that they were hoping beyond hope that he would hit the cricket ball into like the glen where it could be easily replaced without anyone watching the game noticing. And I was like, what if he just didn't do that? What if he just didn't do that? Like, what was your plan?
Look, I'm sure they had plenty of backup plans in place for if this didn't work out. Maybe this was one of the backup plans. We don't know.
And they specifically, but even better is they're waiting for him to get to 99 runs to do it right before he gets to his century. And they're hoping that on the first off, they're hoping he stops running at 99 on the previous hit. Secondly, they're hoping that on the 99 hit, he hits it into the forest where it can be replaced by the girl. Like, the amount of coincidence required, and then it happens a second time.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you the etymological connections between plot and plot, right? Like plot of an episode and like secret plot.
Great.
Yeah, I was a bit I don't know. I can't even just like because when you see the newspaper report, it's like guy dies one short of his century, and I was like, no way that guy was 99. And then so I looked it up.
No, it's referring to the cricket score.
Yeah, so that's what I looked up, and then I had the realization that I have no idea how like cricket is played.
Well, cricket's one of two sports that South Africa is good at, so I know how cricket works pretty well. So I can explain it to you now if you want. Somehow don't think that most of our fans will care.
Yeah, we should just, bait and switch like Living in Harmony style and just explain the rules and then just end the episode without going back to the girl who was deaf. But no, yeah, I mean, I think we can just not do that. It's just basically weird baseball. Like, I don't know.
I mean, they both evolved from the same original sport, which was called rounders. So,
gotta say, I'm not just saying this because I'm American, but like baseball looks cooler. Like aesthetically, like what they're doing looks a lot cooler.
Cricket's more fun in my opinion. I'm going to say that. As someone who's played both, cricket is more fun. Mainly because baseball is like you hit the ball and then you run. And then you don't get to hit the ball for another 3 innings. But the great thing about cricket is if you hit the ball and you keep running and you don't get out while you're running, you just keep hitting. You just keep hitting till they get you out.
Oh, you just go back to home and hit again?
Because in cricket, you score runs by running back and forth between the wickets basically. And if they knock down the wickets while you're running, while you're like between them, then you're out. But you can like stop at the wicket at any time and just wait there at the wicket. And I mean, you'd be giving up runs, but you can just stop and not even run. It'd be a really bad strategy to do that. Because like every time you also bat, you're risking, because if you swing and you miss and they knock down the wicket on top, the one that's balancing on top of the 3, then you're out also. So
wow, yeah, I'm like barely following this, but yeah, cool.
But what's fun about cricket is that you can bat in both directions because of the wickets. You can just stop at whatever wicket you want, and then you're batting the opposite direction now. Anyway, that's enough about cricket.
Isn't Wicket one of the Ewoks from
yes.
Return of the Jedi? Yes. Okay then.
Cricket doesn't even sound like a word anymore. Like I've said it so many times in the past 2 minutes that it doesn't even sound like a word.
I mean, it's a bug, right? Like
it's also a bug, yes.
Yeah. So that happens. The guy dies, and number 6 reads about it in the newspaper.
Yep.
Yeah, this is really odd, too. Like, you just randomly get, like, this, and then bam, like, number 6 outside the village, like, I guess you'd probably be thinking at this point, like, what, did he just escape? Like, what's going on here? Imagine if number 6 just, like, escaped off screen and the last 3 episodes were, like, just him going back to his job, unresigning, and just working. Like,
unresigning.
Yeah, they just have that, like, that's just explained in a passing, like, 3-second bit of dialogue. Where it's like number 6 came back, he was released from the village, and then it's just random, like, spy stories for the rest of the show.
Great.
It's not that, obviously, but imagine.
Imagine if Fallout was just Fallout was just number 6 just goes to number 2 and he goes, you know what? I resign because, and then like he's saying it, but they just beep it out for the audience, so you don't even know.
It's the
And then they
last
just
thing
let
in
him
the
go.
show.
They just let him go. They're like, wow, thanks. And then he leaves, and that's how the show ends. Honestly, if I ran The Prisoner, I would do that. Even though I knew it would suck and people would hate me for doing it, I would do it just to troll them.
One up that. I would just end the show with like, I resign because, and then just cut to the credits.
Wow. That's some Age of Ultron Steve Rogers standing at the railing going, Avengers, and then it cuts right on Assemble.
Yeah.
What a tease.
Sopranos. Never even watched that show. I just know the infamous mid-sentence ending. Or it was like the first show to really do that. The first one that was famous, at least.
We should, if we ever end the podcast, we should just end it mid-sentence, but not even make it a sentence that's like potentially a cliffhanger or anything. Just record the final episode as if it's a legitimate episode, and then I'll just in post-production pick a random spot in the episode and just end it right there.
Nice.
So anyway, back to the cricket match. Number 6 has now taken the place of the Colonel because he travels through London and he meets up with a guy
Potter.
who basically Potter, who tells him Potter, who is Christopher Benjamin, who has played a role in The Prisoner before, weirdly enough, tells him to go to like the local record store, and so Number 6 goes to the record store and then gets a record, and I'm like, do they, every time they want to give someone orders, do they like press a vinyl record to give to Number 6? And then I was like, how fast are they pressing these vinyl records? Because this Colonel died yesterday, and they've already got a vinyl record with Number 6's instructions to take the Colonel's position.
Yeah, speedy. So, I really feel bad for Potter because as soon as Number 6 leaves, because he's doing some shoe shining, as soon as Number 6 leaves, someone comes up with like the nastiest boot you could possibly imagine. So it sucks to be him.
Also, the girl who was deaf, what is her name?
Sonia.
She has a name.
It was Sonia.
Sonia is standing in the window pretending to be a mannequin, and I was like, was she just standing there like all day waiting for Number 6 to come by?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe she just does that in her free time and it was just a total coincidence. She's like, oh, look, it's Number 6.
So Number 6 is now in place of the Colonel in a disguise, I guess, of some sort.
Yeah. How do you like those 1800 style sideburns?
Fun fact, the etymology of the word sideburn is believed to have come from General Burnsides, because he had apparently very flamboyant sideburns.
Wow. The things you learn.
Yeah, just randomly. The things you learn.
So the same thing happens again. The ball gets replaced with a bomb, but Number 6 is clued into it and he just chucks it.
And then he runs towards the explosion.
Yeah, people say The Prisoner is like subversive and part of the counterculture and stuff, but like, it's true. He runs towards the explosion instead of slowly walking away from it. So the total opposite.
And then it blows up and he runs up to it and there's like a message I think it was on a leaf nearby that was like, go to your local pub. So he goes to the local pub.
Yeah.
And loses the disguise, I guess. But then he puts it on for all the rest of the scenes until the rocket Lighthouse. So I don't really know. I feel like it was an editing continuity error.
Maybe, yeah, I have no idea. We don't really see how Sherlock Holmesy it is until the next scene though. Because
That's true.
now he goes to the pub, orders a drink, drinks it, and at the bottom of the glass, this is probably one of my favorite things that this show has given us, and I totally forgot about this from my previous watch throughs. But at the bottom of the glass, he sees the words, "You have been poisoned."
This blew my mind with how incompetent of a secret agent Number Six was. Like this, if this really was inspired by Number Six's past life, he was a freaking god awful secret agent because he sees writing at the bottom of the glass, and he doesn't do what I thought he would do, which is just like look at the bottom of the glass from the other side because like that's how glass works, and you can see through the glass. But instead he decides to drink the whole thing, which turns out to be the wrong move.
But it's so much better that way. It's so much better.
I mean, it's funny because he doesn't even drink it at a reasonable pace. He sees the writing and then I guess he just decides, I am Speed Chow, and decides to shotgun this beer.
But what he does next is even better. So he knows he's been poisoned, or at least he thinks he has. Which that's the thing is a lot of Sonya's traps rely on or a lot of them could be bluffs when you think about it. I mean, obviously not the Turkish bath thing, which is like, haha, I'm gonna steam you to death, but like a lot of them could be bluffs, and we'll get into that. But like at this point, yeah, he thinks he's been poisoned, so he just starts downing like. He asked for like tequila, whiskey, just everything, and
vodka, sherry.
Yeah,
he's just shotgunning all of this.
And then you go and you get a 5-minute detailed scene, close up of Patrick McGoohan vomiting. No, it just cuts to after that.
Yeah, remember when we watched the Torchwood Next Time trailer, and there was the guy on his head projectile vomiting?
Yeah.
Turns out that was Number Six.
Check out Trust Your Doctor, a Doctor Who podcast. So the next clue, I think, is on like a roll of paper in the bathroom, where it's like, come to the Turkish baths or whatever. So he does. Number 6 is like, he's getting a steam bath. He's
now back in disguise, by the way.
In his Sherlock Holmes disguise. He's in the little cabinet. I had never... Obviously, I've watched the show before, but I had never... outside of this show, I've never seen anything like this. Like a steam bath thing where you get into like a little cabinet and...
Oh, this is like directly out of Thunderball. This scene. The James Bond movie that came before this. Like literally the exact same thing happens. James Bond is in one of these little steam compartments, and the villain just sticks the door handle through the handle. Yeah. Have to wonder how much of that seeped into Terence Feely's script.
Well, probably all of it, if it's literally just a 1-for-1 thing. There's that line later too where the Schnips goes. He's digging up London. He gives Bond Street to Sonia, and that's like, okay, yeah, all right.
I think Bond Street is an actual place.
It is, yeah, it's an actual street, but like, come on, that has to be like a James Bond reference.
My favorite James Bond fun fact is that Ian Fleming took the name of James Bond from like a birding book, like a book, like James Bond the Ornithologist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I knew that somehow. I don't know. Weird.
Whack.
So yeah, Sonia's also in there. She sticks a broom between the handles, preventing Number 6 from being able to leave, and then places I don't know what it is, a bowl on top of his head or something.
Yeah, like a space helmet almost.
Yeah, and how Sonia is being framed throughout all of this is like, you don't really see her face. You just kind of see everything but her face.
Yeah.
And it zooms in on her legs like a lot. in the first half of the episode at least.
When you do finally see her face, you see her extreme winged eyeliner.
Yeah. Yeah. So how number 6 breaks out of this is honestly kind of disappointing. He just brute forces himself out.
He literally just kicks his way out. And then goes to, like... I think the message tells him to go to, like, the boxing ring at the local fair. So he's like, all right, I'll go to the boxing ring and sit in the front row.
Yeah, and of course he gets brought into the ring as the next challenger.
Yeah, this was really funny to me because I was wondering, like, what was her trap here? And then the guy introduces Killer Mike or whatever his name was. And then he goes, and facing off against him, this random guy in the front row.
Yeah. It was Killer Karminski.
Killer Karminski, that's what it was.
Number 6 is just like, yeah, all right, I'm in. Just gonna
He's
box.
still in disguise, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah. So he goes, not only does he walk into the water fully clothed, but he, like, boxes fully clothed, which I feel like would be really uncomfortable.
I have a note that says, well, that's a smash cut, but I don't know what it was referring to.
Well, it turns out all of these rides have, like, absolutely zero safety precautions. Because he gets on a roller coaster, and it's literally just like a mine cart. Like, I don't know if that's how things actually were in the 60s, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
He gets on this roller coaster and he doesn't look like he's having fun at all, and I'm not even sure why he got on this coaster because it has no real relation to the woman except that he sees her from the roller coaster. So then he gets on this other roller coaster that has like no lap belts, I guess, because number 6 just starts like climbing cars forward while the roller coaster's in motion.
And they were all like that. None of the rides had anything to strap you in. And obviously 60s roller coasters are not as, like, dangerous as roller coasters today, where they go, like, over 100 miles an hour and have, like, a bunch of loops and stuff. But at the same time, like, yeah, wow.
Imagine doing a full loop. No laps, no lap belt. Just praying that the centripetal force holds you in.
Yeah, you'd probably, I mean, the one at Disneyland, or California Adventure, rather, the one that... you know, the really fast one, you'd probably stay in the seat just with how fast you're going.
The Incredicoaster.
Is that what it's called?
It used to be California Screamin', but then they rethemed like that entire part of the park to be Pixar themed, so it's the Incredicoaster now.
Gotcha. Yeah, also, I mean, we're still California Screaming from, like, the fact that half the state's on fire, so, you know.
No, that was really good. The best part of the Incredicoaster, though, just want to throw this out there, is the top of the second hill where they pump the smell of cookies into the tunnel that you're in.
As if you weren't, like, sick to your stomach enough already.
Cookie num-nums. It's literally some Machiavellian manipulation shit, because they pump the smell of cookies into the top of that hill, and then you go through the rest of the ride, and then right at the exit to the ride, there's a cookie stand where you can buy cookies. I would bet good money that cookie stand is like one of the highest money earning places in that entire park.
Oh yeah, probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
Oh my goodness.
Just to kind of amend what we said a minute ago, like, yeah, the loop, you'd probably stay in if you had no belt, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't be absolutely terrifying.
Honestly, California Screaming, the Incredicoaster actually, wow, still referring to it by its old name. The Incredicoaster would be terrifying from moment one if you had no lap restraints, because unlike a lot of roller coasters, it doesn't like take you up a hill to gain speed. You just get accelerated from 0 to 80 in like 3 seconds on a completely flat stretch of the coaster.
Oh boy.
I feel like Space Mountain would actually be pretty terrifying without lap restraints either, because it's all in the dark. And,
Yeah, true. You have
you
no
can't
idea.
see anything.
Yeah, you have no idea what's coming. People have died on Space Mountain.
People have died on a lot of rides at Disneyland. In fact, there's a whole Wikipedia page, Incidents at Disneyland.
Yeah. Some of the rides at Knott's Berry Farm are even scarier, though, like Ghost Rider.
I was going to say, imagine Ghost Rider without a lap restraint. Actually, that's probably the closest you can get to like what number 6 is experiencing here. I mean, Ghost Rider probably goes a lot faster than a coaster number 6 is on, but like that quality of build is probably what number 6 is riding here. The worst part about Ghost Rider is the fact that it's not like, because it's all wood, none of it is like feels very safe to be on, and the entire ride you're just shaking because like the track isn't smooth, I guess. Also, that first drop is steep as hell, I was just gonna say.
Oh boy.
I don't know if you've been on Ghost Rider, but the hill is definitely the highest point in Knott's Berry Farm. So, to give you any indication of like the speed you achieve.
Oh man. We should probably get back to the episode.
So number 6 is climbing over cars to get to. He sees a girl with blonde hair in the front, and she turns around, and it's not Sonya. And this guy is taking photographs. This guy is speaking of restraints. This guy is sitting on the like hood of the front car, facing backwards, taking pictures of Sonya, not Sonya, but this fake Sonya on the coaster.
Yeah, and this is actually Alexi Connor, who played the kid last week.
Yeah, weird.
He's uncredited.
Weird.
Number 6 just goes, "Oh, sorry about that."
Oh, sorry.
But then he kind of just, we don't see this, but he obviously just has to awkwardly stay there because they're on a roller coaster. The guy starts swearing, starts cussing him out, and he has this line that I really liked. Hold on, I wrote it down. Oh man, I should have
Remember
saved
when
this
we used to have a...
Yeah.
I was going to say, remember when we used to have a quotes segment?
He goes, "You'll never pick up your teeth with your broken arm."
Oh. Okay.
So yeah, number 6 goes...
I mean, he's not wrong.
Number 6 goes on a bunch of other rides. He goes through the Tunnel of Love. He goes on... Yeah, just a bunch of other rides. He goes on a water ride.
The Tunnel of Love was hilarious because it looked so hilariously low budget. And number 6 is just sitting in this rinky-dink boat with just like streamers you can buy at Party City hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, the whole thing looked almost paper mache. Or, not paper mache. Oh man, I forget what it's called. I used to do these when I was a kid. It's almost like paper mache, but it's like a lot sturdier. And I forget it's like you use canvas as part of the material. Gosh, I don't know what it's called. But, yeah.
I've got absolutely no idea. Gonna be honest.
Yeah, same here, unfortunately, now. But, like, yeah, it does look very low budget.
So that's hilarious.
Eventually, Sonia just like gets in a car and drives off.
Number 6 gives chase.
He starts hearing her voice over the radio, and she says like, "You'll make a great corpse," or something like that, or like, "You're so lovely, you'll make a great corpse." And then she starts doing this thing that I thought was cool. Never really gets explained, contextualized, whatever, but like she starts waving her hand around, and as she does that, the screen rotates.
Yeah, I was like, what in the hell is going on? My note here is, how did you do that? What the hell?
I have my own, theories as to what that is, which we can get into at the end, I guess.
It's drugs, right?
No, surprisingly.
It's drugs.
They wind up in this, like, ghost town, which I think on my first watch through of this, I thought that this was, like, an old movie set.
Like, in universe, it was an old movie set.
Yeah.
You're saying.
Which kind of plays into what we talked about last week, how the Western town is, like, literally a TV set. And all the signs in the town are puns. Like, Daniel Doe, the baker, or something like that. And there's a bunch of other ones, too.
Weird, man. Weird.
It's called The Village. You see the storybook, like, outro / intro thing where the ad breaks would be. And in the corner, I believe, you see it labeled as The Village.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess, so it's not actually a movie set or anything in universe. It's just an abandoned town. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Sonia starts talking to number 6 over the speaker system, telling him how he's never going to make it out alive. She also kind of drops a little bit of the backstory of her father. She says the war ended before he was ever recognized. And we actually forgot to mention that the entire reason number 6 is trying to track her down is that she and her father are creating a bomb to destroy London with.
Yep, a nice friendly little bomb.
Or a missile, rather.
Just gonna send that off. It's gonna blow up. People are gonna be like, oh no. But it's, it's gonna be a nice little friendly bomb. He just wants to say hi.
Yeah. Just wants to say hi. Hydrogen explosion. So I really like what we get here. This part of the story was better to me than the amusement park.
Yeah, the Saw-esque abandoned house here is a lot more interesting than the rest of the episode.
So I forget what all the traps were, but I think the first one was that, like, machine gun that activated when you open the door.
Yeah, that's the most Saw-esque of this whole thing, right off the bat.
Was that in Saw?
Yeah, shotguns attached to the doors. I mean, I've never watched Saw, but I've extensively read the Wikipedia summary.
Wonder if James Wan ever watched The Prisoner, or Lee Wannell.
Maybe. We could just ask.
Yeah, just ask them online. They're Australian, so I'm sure this show got plenty of love in Australia.
We could just tweet at James Wan, hey, just curious, you ever watch The Prisoner, bro?
Bro. Fam.
Yo, fam, you ever watch The Prisoner? If so, slide into my DMs. Lee just blocks me on Twitter after that. Just probably for the best.
Yeah. So the next trap, I think, is the trap door thing.
Yep.
Which number 6... So, okay, number 6 dismantles the machine gun in the most dangerous way possible because he covers up the sensor with his hand. And I'm like, no, one slip and you're dead, my friend, because you're standing right in front of the gun.
Well, as long as it works.
True. All that matters is the ends, not the means, none of it. So
Exactly.
So yeah, he falls through this trapdoor, but the gun saves him because its length prevents it from falling down, and he is able to hang on.
And he just hangs there for a while, and then he like kicks a like a box, a wood carton, sort of, on top of the spikes.
Because there's a panel of spikes coming up to just skewer him to death, and they're also poisoned.
Yeah, she really went overboard with some of these traps.
Or we're about to get the best one because yeah, number 6 uses that wooden carton to escape, and then he takes it to the candle room.
And so the candle room, all the wax has cyanide in, so as the candles melt, they put cyanide gas into the air, and then if he tries to blow the candles out, they blow up.
Yeah. He doesn't believe her at first on the second thing, but he tries to snuff out one of the candles with the candle snuffing implement or whatever that thing is called. And lo and behold, it blows up, so...
Yeah, shocking.
So, but what he does is he uses this to his advantage. He gathers a bunch of candles by one of the doors and blows them out, and giving him a way to escape.
And so he escapes, and then immediately gets shot at by Sonya in the local church bell tower with a machine gun.
Yeah, she's got a lot of ammunition up there. So what number 6 does is he... this isn't a bulldozer. What are these called? I don't know. It's not a crane. It's not a bulldozer. It's like a big industrial shovel thing.
Shoot.
Just Googling industrial shovel and seeing what comes up.
Somehow don't think that'll work. That'll work.
I don't think it'll work either. Shovel car.
Shovel car? Great, thanks.
Oh, wait, hang on. No, oh, is it it's not a tractor, is it?
It might be, yeah.
Let me just Google tractor. Oh, yeah, I guess.
Inevitable. A high budget, well produced show.
I guess it is. I guess it's a tractor.
It's a something.
Well, yeah, when people say tractor, I usually think tractor trailer, which, yeah.
Wikipedia calls it a bulldozer.
Huh. Well, okay then.
In its plot summary of the episode.
Alrighty. He basically uses it as a shield.
Yeah, well then Sonya pulls up a rocket launcher.
But number 6 somehow makes it down a manhole before he can die. And he follows Sonya. He follows her to an empty field where she gets in a helicopter, and he just kind of hops on. And the way this is all shot, I'm sure this is, not sure, but I would imagine that this is how they actually did it, and it's very obvious where she flies off and they land in another field, but I'm pretty sure it's just the opposite end of the field that they were originally in.
Yeah. Number 6 sneaks into the lighthouse, where we see some guy dressed as like a Napoleonic soldier.
Yeah. Well, okay, so he encounters the lighthouse because Sonya goes into a cave and he follows her, and they come out the other side and they're on this cliff face, and there's a lighthouse built in like the British style of lighthouses where it's not on the land, it's like out in the water somehow for some reason.
How does it work? I don't know.
How do you even build something like that? I have no idea how you would even like begin to construct that.
Magic.
X-Files theme and Twilight Zone theme play at the same time. That's how you do it. You just play both of those themes at once and lighthouses pop out of the ocean.
They probably just built it by hand. They probably just like had people carry all the equipment across a shoddily made bridge they made.
Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe I'll look it up for the show notes. I doubt I'll be able to find anything on it.
Just Google how to build lighthouse on ocean.
So yeah, there's a regiment of Napoleon cosplayers in here, or one Napoleon cosplayer, and the rest are soldiers. And this is Sonia's dad, Schnips.
Can't believe his name is Schnips.
Well, I guess that means it's Sonia Schnips too, right? Like, Schnips is not his first name, hopefully.
It might be.
Maybe. Sucks to be him if it is. So he's going over their plan, and this is some, they're pretty bumbling, because number 6, while all this is going on, number 6 has snuck up on one of the soldiers who's in the armory and knocked him out and taken his clothes.
I mean, not to mention that, like, his plan, his amazing plan was that he built his entire base in the rocket that's going to get destroyed when he launches it. So he's got, like, clearly way more guns and ammunition in here than can be reasonably evacuated from the rocket in the, like, 10 minutes he gives before he launches it. So he's just literally throwing away all of his money. So Schnips is clearly not the brightest villain in the bunch.
Yeah, well, he's obsessed with Napoleon, and his plan is to blow up London, reclaim it for himself, and rename most of the city after Napoleon. He's going to give most of London to himself and Sonia, and then when one of the soldiers asks what they get, he's like, you can have the barracks.
Weird.
All of this reminds me of, and this is, I'm about to go off on a total tangent here, but it's going to be worth it.
Oh, boy.
All this reminds me of one of the strangest encounters I've ever had in my life, which was when I was on the bus once, like 5 years ago, and some guy who was obviously high out of his mind on some, I don't even know what, but, like, started talking to me about how he was Napoleon's grandson and how he gets a big check from France every month because he's Napoleon's grandson. Yeah, really weird. One of the strangest, encounters with anyone I've ever had in my life. And yeah.
Does Napoleon, even have children?
I don't know, but I mean, even if he did, he lived in the early 1800s. There's no way, his grandson would have lived in, 1850.
That's true, actually. Good point. Good point. Well, maybe you just met a time traveler.
Maybe. Perhaps. So, I don't know what it is behind this, but maybe this is something political that I'm not getting, is what I mean to say, but the 3 soldiers are one of them is credited as Yorkshire soldier, one of them is Welsh soldier, and the other one is, I think, Scots soldier. And there's the 4th one, which number 6 takes out. They're all from all different places.
And by takes out, you mean for a nice dinner.
Yeah, exactly. Just abandons the mission. Just nah, you know what? Screw London. I'm out. Peace. That's why he resigned, because, no, I don't know.
He resigned because he realized he too was a fan of Napoleon. and wanted to make his own Napoleon fanfic. How many layers deep would we be going if there was fanfic about Schnips portraying Napoleon? We're like 3 layers deep now.
What, you mean like a Napoleon fan fiction, but like it has a cast and Schnips is cast as Napoleon?
Yeah, it's like Napoleon fan fiction, but it's about Schnips. It's like Schnips is... I don't know, Schnips is like telling a story where he's Napoleon, and that's the fan fiction that's been written. I'm confusing myself.
You could have a story kind of like this one, where it's like at the end, Schnips closes the book, and he's like, and that's how I like was exiled to an island off the coast of Italy or whatever.
And that's how I got blown the heck up by my own rocket.
What even happens next? I think Schnips orders one of the men to go down to the armory because the guy number 6 took out was like dicking around in the armory for some reason.
So they all go down, and this is the one time that Sergeant Drano's 6 greater than 2, 3 greater than 6 rule doesn't apply, because there are like 6 guys here, and 6 just wrecks all of them.
Yeah, well, there's only like 3, right? Or is there more?
No, there are like more than 3.
Yeah.
There are at least 4.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, but he sabotages the weapons, so it's kind of funny actually, because actually the grenade things are later, but like he sabotages the weapons, they blow up in their faces, and he's just like, heh.
Ha ha.
I think at this point Schnips activates the rocket, and he's like, all right, come on, Sonia, we gotta bail. So they go, and they're like, they have this paperwork that they need to take with them, but they didn't like prepare whatsoever before pressing the launch button. So they're cramming the papers into the bags while Schnips like extols Sonia about the virtues of being prepared and not rushing.
I was like, why wouldn't Schnips pack all of this stuff up before starting the countdown?
Yeah, beats the hell out of me, but it was funny.
Eventually, they realize that 6 has escaped again, and he's about to escape on the boat. So they grab some grenades that we saw 6 fiddling with earlier, and they try to throw them, and the heads just come off, land in the boat, and 6 drives away. And then they hear ticking, and they look down at the handles, which then blow up in their hands, killing like half a dozen people at once. Remember when Patrick McGowan didn't want to like kill people on The Prisoner?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then number 6 closes a storybook that we realize he's been reading the entire time. And he's like, and that's how I saved London from the mad scientist. This kind of blew my mind when I first watched the episode. I didn't pick up on the fact that this was all a book somehow. Or a story.
But they give you pictures.
Yeah, but I didn't
all
realize.
The time. I think I picked up the first time a picture showed up. The second time a picture showed up, actually. The first one I didn't get, but the second one showed more accurately what was going on screen, so I understood what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I see.
I thought this was just like a random story. Like, because at the time I didn't know what Danger Man was when I first watched the show in 2016. And I just thought it was just some random like thing that just had no relation to anything else in the show at all until the very end, of course, when I realized.
Stunned silence from Dylan.
This is interesting because this is the first time we've really seen kids in the village. We saw the one...
And probably the last, since there's only 2 episodes left.
Yeah, well, we saw the one kid in Living in Harmony. but that doesn't count. So this is it. I think we speculated too in one of our earlier episodes whether there were kids in the village or not, and I completely forgot about this scene. Even this watch through, I totally forgot he was reading the book to kids.
It's weird that he's telling the story to kids. Like, it doesn't really seem like a kid's story, right?
I guess not really. I mean, kind of, yeah. Maybe. Kids' stories were a lot darker back in the day too.
That's true. Maybe the other thing about the no safety restraints is that humans are just more fragile now, both emotionally and physically.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Is that true? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just making a joke off the fact that people could fly out of the roller coaster in the 60s and survive, I guess, is like what they're implying with the fact that there's no safety restraints.
Maybe. But yeah, it's wild that the village has kids in it.
It's true.
I mean, they look like they're taking pretty good care of them though, so it's all good.
I would want to know, were they born there? Did they also get kidnapped?
Yeah, all good questions. None of which we'll ever find out answers to.
Great.
Also, whose bright idea was it to have number 6 look after the kids? Of all people. Actually, it was Sonia's, now that I think about it, because we get a little scene of number 2, which is who's Schnips. And
right.
And I don't remember her number, but Sonia. And number 2 goes like, let him read a story. See if he cracks. Great idea. This guy wouldn't cave under any type of pressure.
He says he wouldn't let up his guard to his own grandmother. So, classic.
Number 6 then looks into the camera and realizes that he knows that they were surveilling him the entire time, kind of breaking the fourth wall in a way. And he says good night or something like that. Just, yeah. Good night, children, all the children out there, something along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, imagine living in the village long enough to fall in love and have a kid, and then the kid grows up in the village. I'm still thinking about this.
Yeah, would suck. I guess I wouldn't know anything else, though, so, they just wouldn't know.
That's true. I mean, it would be like a weird Truman Show thing. Imagine growing up in the village and not knowing anything else, Oh, well. Oh, well. I mean, oh, well. So
I actually had quite a few things I wanted to talk about this week. So okay,
I didn't, so take it away.
I really like the scene where the one we talked about before, where Sonia is doing her little hand wave thing, and the screen starts just spinning. Right after that, number 6 obviously winds up in the abandoned town, and Sonia starts talking to him over the speaker system, which I really like how this is done, because first you hear Sonia's voice, and it has this filter over it where it sounds very ghostly and ethereal and otherworldly, and then as soon as number 6 sees the speaker, it turns into a speaker filter type thing, which it just goes to show you one of the things I think this show is very heavily about is how technology and advancement and knowledge demystifies a lot of what we kind of think about the world. I don't know why this is the example I thought of, but when people learned what thunder and lightning were, and what electricity was, those things became a lot less mystical, right? They just became another part of everyday life, rather than building gods based around them and stuff like that. And this scene I think really speaks to that, because it goes from this otherworldly omnipresent almost voice, and then when number 6 sees what it actually is, it's like, oh, it's just a speaker. But like in a way, so I mean, in a way, like, television is doing that too. But but that's why I like the scene where she kind of spins the screen around, because like that's something you can only do in TV and movies and stuff, giving that mystical quality back to these things that are ostensibly like technology that are moving us away from all of that, which is cool, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining that my thought process there well, but
Kind of, yeah. I think I understand what you're saying. Mostly.
What else? I had a lot to talk about. What else did I have here? Oh yeah, a lot of Sonya's, not a lot, but just two. A lot of her plans are based on like what could be bluffs. So first she has the "you've just been poisoned" thing, which like number 6 doesn't know that for sure. But the more interesting one to me is the candle one, where she first tells him that the candles are burning cyanide gas and he's gonna die, and then tells him that if he tries to blow out the candles, he'll get blown up because the candles will blow up. And there's no real way to test the first one other than just like wait and see if you die. But like number 6 seems to disbelieve the second of those two, kind of playing into that, I don't know what this is called, but there's a name for it, thing where like you typically believe, if someone tells you something, you typically believe that, and then if someone tells you something else that contradicts that, you believe the first thing, even if there's no reason for you to believe the first one over the second one, even if you have no external knowledge about anything, you would typically believe the first one first, because it's the first one you you meshed into like your knowledge or whatever. And it's something like everyone does. And I feel like it's kind of at play here. Again, there's no real way he could test the cyanide thing other than just waiting it out. But like it seems like he believes that and then doesn't believe the bomb thing. So I feel like the cyanide thing could be a bluff. But who knows?
Well, we do see like him coughing, kind of implying that it might not be a bluff, that there actually is gas in the air killing him.
Yeah.
So.
And my last thing here is that Chelsea Barracks, the part of London that Schnips promises to his men, is actually now an apartment complex. It's converted recently.
Nice. His men are going to get nice, sweet apartments to live in.
Yeah, if they manage to stay alive for like 50 more years for it to get converted.
Hey, man. We don't know when this is set. Could be set, whenever.
Yeah, the Prisoner could take place in like 2025. Didn't they name a date and it was like 1960 something?
I don't remember.
I don't know. They have dates for sure, because we get like in Schizoid Man we get dates, but I don't ever remember if they mentioned the year.
I seem to remember the Schizoid Man dates just being Wednesday, February 17th or something. Not actually February 17th. That's just a date that's stuck in my mind for some reason.
So who would you say is number 1 this week? I kind of had trouble figuring it out.
I said it might be whatever Sonya's number is in the village, because she was the one who came up with this plan. That was like the only person I could really think of.
Yeah, I just said it was number 6, because again, he seemed to be more in control than anyone. He knew about their surveillance. He didn't drop any details of his resignation in the story, so...
But then again, he always knows about their surveillance, right?
I guess, but he knew like exactly where the camera was and looked into it and stuff, so... Yeah, I don't know. Other than that, I literally have no idea who could be number 1. Maybe the photographer. Who knows? Potter.
Who knows? Yeah, I don't know.
It's that guy who puts his boot on Potter's stand. It just has like it's just crusted with like dirt. That was number 1.
What if number one's just been dead this whole time? It's just they're all looking for someone who doesn't exist.
Yeah, that would be wild. I would say this is a win for number 6. He doesn't fall into their plan, doesn't fall into their hands and reveal anything about why he resigned. So
Yeah. I thought about this for a while because I didn't know if I wanted to classify it as a win or not because it didn't really seem like they were trying to get anything out of 6 this week. It is pretty much a win though because he doesn't give up anything even if they weren't necessarily directly trying to ask him to give up anything,
their plan
you know?
was to
So,
allow him to tell this story of when he was a secret agent and hope that he accidentally slips and reveals something about his resignation, which is like a pretty out there plan. You know, you're putting all your eggs in one basket here. It seems like the number 2.
they're absolutely putting their eggs in one
It
basket.
seems like all the number 2s put their eggs in one basket, but like, and because it seems like all the number 2s just get replaced when they fail, but like this is a really chancy basket to put your eggs in.
Not like they haven't tried really like chancy plans before.
True.
So I mean, it was like a really convoluted plan that like it wasn't really a plan. It was more of a we'll just see if he gives something up.
I liked it though. It's one of the more inventive ones because it allowed for one of the more inventive episodes. And
That's true.
I like this order. Again, I'm starting to appreciate the broadcast order more than I ever have. Even though this is the only order I've ever watched the show in. But I think it's nice that Living in Harmony and this one are placed where they are because, you know, after so long in the village, we finally get other places.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just I think it's not needed, but it's cool.
I appreciate this order because it puts all of the definite filler episodes near the end and kind of in the same place. So you get all the really weird out there ideas at the same time, like Living in Harmony and A Change of Mind and The Girl Who Was Death are all like very out there ideas and like thematically kind of represent a kind of breakdown in the village's efforts to break number 6 because they get increasingly obscure and tangential and just odd, really.
Yeah, they get less and less direct as the show kind of goes on this order. Not exactly, but kind of trending that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, the broadcast order is the only order I've ever used this, so I like it.
Well, you know what I liked? Some of the actors in this.
Did you really?
Yeah. Especially like Kenneth Griffith as Schnips, who has been in Bond Street. Hey.
Hey.
He was in... I just listed down everything that looked like kind of a big role for him. He was in Some Matters of Little Consequence. That's the name. He was in... Brace yourselves, I'm probably about to butcher this name as badly as I butchered Bergerac. Clochemerle?
What?
Well,
I didn't even write that one down.
Okay, it's Clochemerle.
Hang on, I'm gonna look at this. Oh, he was in Callan. I didn't write that down. Ah, I see. This seems like it would be pronounced like Clochemerle.
Gotcha.
A
Wasn't too
rural
far
French
off.
town, so it's probably from some sort of French something.
Yeah.
To
Well,
Wikipedia for the pronunciation guide. Oh. Oh, Cloche Merle is a French satirical novel by Gabriel Chevalier. Chevalier, yeah. Set in a fictional French town called Cloche Merle. Great. Great. Doesn't tell you how to say it because it's fictional. Awesome.
well, regardless, he was in that. He was also in Perils of Pendragon, Shaka Zulu, and like a bunch of other stuff. And I feel like I should point out, should just say here, that Kenneth Reginald Griffiths is like the most English name I've ever heard, which is his full original name, which he then changed to Kenneth Griffith later on. Or as his acting
That is
name.
Kenneth Reginald Griffiths. I looked up the pronunciation of Cloche Merle in French, and it's more of a like Cloche Merle.
Yeah,
There we
really
go.
got to get in that glottal like L at the end. I can't even do it.
Cloche Merle. No, I can't really do it well either. That was always I took French for a couple of years, and my downfall was always the pronunciation.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to put on a French accent and then talk in French to like properly pronounce things in French. It's very weird.
Should have taken the god tier Spanish instead.
French is the language of love.
But Spanish is the language of like actually being useful where we live.
French is the language of being useful where I want to live, though.
Where in
French Canada,
Belize-
obviously.
yeah. Ontario or not Quebec rather. Freezing my ass off in Quebec, but at least I know French.
At least I'll have healthcare. So I've got Justine Lord as Sonia. She's been in, I only recognize 3 of her things, but she's been in a lot of like those ITV Play of the Weeks. But she was in The Doctors, The Avengers, and The Saint, were the 3 that I recognized.
Yeah, I wrote down other ones too that I didn't recognize. Hereward, The Wake, Mogul, Crossroads, and that's it. She's apparently retired from acting in the 70s, but she's still alive.
Huh.
Yeah. So I think we covered him before, but might as well just do it again because Christopher Benjamin, who played Potter, has been in other episodes of The Prisoner.
Yep. We did cover him because he was Jago, I think.
Yeah, he played Jago in Doctor Who's Towns of Wang Chiang.
The
And
least racist story of all time.
yeah, well, honestly, it's not Doctor Who's most racist story, so
It's close, though.
yeah, it's pretty damn close.
It's pretty close.
And I take that back. It might be. It might be the most.
Well, it's between that and Time Flight, honestly.
Or maybe
For
Marco
me.
Polo.
Or Marco Polo, yeah. Those 3 are like the big 3 of what is it? Name a more iconic trio for racism in Doctor Who.
Yeah, and Khalid was such a weird throw-in, too, like... Yeah.
Khalid had no, like, it could have been, the monster could have been dressed as literally anything, including other aliens, but instead they chose Khalid. Like, this racist caricature, like, come on, guys.
Yeah, you're right.
Nothing about that story required him to be Khalid, but
Yeah, he was operating from another dimension. And this was the disguise he decided to use.
Great.
Anyway, I feel like we didn't mention this many stories or TV shows for Christopher Benjamin, so I'm just going to go through the gamut. He was in Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. A real okay moment for sure, but here we go. He was in
Okay.
Orlando. He was in Secret Agent, obviously. He was in this show. He was in Chimes of Big Ben as number 2's assistant, and he was in Arrival as the labor exchange manager. He was in Poldark. Talons of Wing Chang, as we mentioned. He was in Armchair Thriller as Detective Inspector Tarrant. Check out Zenith, the Blake 7 podcast for all your Tarrant action. He was in Dick Turpin, Crown Court, A Spy at Evening, Chintz, It Takes a Worried Man, A Likely Lad, The Tomorrow People. Hey. He was in The Unicorn and the Wasp. And he was in some Eighth Doctor adventures, too. And
some audios, I believe, right?
And his latest role, was in The Legend of Tarzan in 2016.
I saw that movie. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad, though.
Huh. Yeah.
It had, who plays the female lead in that movie?
Yeah.
Was it Margot Robbie?
No idea.
Was it Margot Robbie, the girl I threw out jokingly to play the next Doctor at one point?
Well, time to go to Google. Legend of Tarzan.
Oh, it was Margot Robbie. I've already got it. It was Margot Robbie. I thought I wasn't misremembering.
Huh.
Well, you really did run the gamut there. And I'm glad you did, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just go with that. I don't know if you had any more, but I had Michael Brennan as Killer Karminski, who he had an extensive acting career. He was in The Adventures of the Seahawk. No idea what that is, but sounds cool. He was in Benny Hill, Dixon of Dock Green, Watch the Birdies. He was in something called Freewheelers, Ivanhoe, Zed Cars, The Regiment, and like a bunch of other stuff. And then, like we mentioned before, we had Alexi Connor as the swearing photographer who was uncredited. Yeah, that's all I got.
That's everything I've got. So I don't think we even have an email this week on the Prisoner.
Huh.
Des prisonniers.
Wow.
Oh, we do have. Anyway, well, so with that, shall we bring the episode to a close?
No, just keep it running. Let's see how far we can go. See how long we can stay here.
Trust your doctor. 10-hour version. Inevitable 10-hour version.
Hello? You still there?
Yeah. Just nothing to talk about,
yeah,
so figured I would just sit here and read this Wikipedia page.
Oh, God.
Well, if you'd like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on the Prisoner. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on any podcasting platform pretty much at Inevitable Classic Sci-Fi Podcast. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor, like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. Next time we're watching Once Upon a Time, but until then, the end.